Good afternoon and welcome to our midday press briefing. It is Tuesday, the 23rd of September 2025. Let me start with an update to our press events today. At 2:30 we will organise a technical briefing off the record on the EU Deforestation regulation. As usual, we will send you the details in writing via our usual channels. Puis, je me permets de commencer en vous rappelant que la deuxième journée du Conseil Agriculture et Pêche se poursuit aujourd'hui à Bruxelles. Les commissaires Hansen, Varhelyi et Roosevelt représentent la Commission à cette réunion. Dans l'agenda figurent des questions liées au commerce et développement récent. Les ministres discutent également la stratégie pour la résilience dans le domaine de l'eau. Une conférence de presse avec le commissaire Hansen aura lieu vers 13h30. Cela veut dire que nous ne prendrons pas de questions sur l'agriculture et la pêche que je vous invite à réserver pour cette conférence de presse dédiée. Finally, before giving the floor to our wonderful journalists, I would like to welcome a group of visitors joining us today. I understand you are 10 visitors coming from Bolzano, Italy, and that you work in the Regional Press Office of the South Tyrol. Welcome. I hope you enjoy your time here in the European Commission with us and in Brussels more generally. Benvenuti. And with this, we can open the floor for your questions. Jorge.
Hello, Olof. I want to ask you about this latest drone incident that we just seen in Denmark. We're still getting the information. The main airport was shut down. They're talking about a capable operator, and the Prime Minister just said, I cannot rule out that is Russia. Are you in touch with the authorities in Denmark, and what's your reaction to these latest incidents that comes on the heels of similar others? Thank you.
Many thanks for this opening question. I pass the floor to Anita.
Thank you, Jorge. We have seen the incidents, and we're in full solidarity with Denmark, but also with Norway, who are in charge of these investigations. This is their competence, and we commend them already for the swift action. So we still need to wait for the final outcome, but what we have seen throughout the last weeks points out to Russia in terms of their reckless actions in at least 3 member states. So first Poland, then Romania, and most recently Estonia. What we have seen in terms of Russia is that they have not just accidentally violated the airspaces of EU member states, but this was an intentional violation of the European airspace. And here we see a clear pattern. Russia is testing the European borders, also probing our resolve and undermining our security throughout. HRVP has passed a clear message also yesterday at UNGA in the presence of Russia throughout. And what we see on our side is that we need to bring even more resolve when it comes to ensuring that Russia is deterred, in ensuring that Russia must pay. We have done this throughout our 19th sanction package most recently. We have done it also through our support when it comes to our military defense spending, where Thomas will outline more in terms of what we do. And we have seen also the political level, our reactions, be it from the President, but the High Representative and also Commissioner Kubilius will also meet with the frontline states next week to discuss how they can improve the conditions and capabilities to defend us against airspace violations. So maybe Thomas would like to add more.
Thank you, Anita. Not a lot to add, but still, for those who still doubted the need to have a drone wall in the European Union, well, here we get another example of how important it is. The latest attacks in Romania, in Poland, in Estonia, now in Denmark, 4 member states have been targeted. And this is precisely why we will be working on this drone wall. As mentioned by Anita, Commissioner Kubilius will meet with the 7 frontline member states. I named them yesterday. Here we go again. Estonia, Latvia, Finland, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria. And I can now add to that list also Denmark, of course, on top of Ukraine.
Many thanks to both. Jorge, you have a follow-up.
Yes, and just to clarify, Anita, when you said that this incident, Russia is behind this latest incident in Denmark, you're saying it because the Commission, has received information from the authorities, from intelligence services, or because you're drawing a parallelism with what happened recently in Poland and Romania and Estonia? Thank you.
Thank you. What I have said is that we still need to wait for the final outcome of investigation, so we will not prejudge this. But when we are putting the things into context, while again not prejudging the results of this investigation of the authorities, we have seen a clear pattern when it comes to launching drones violating our airspace, and this points out to Russia.
Many thanks. Carl.
Yeah, Carl de Meyer for Les Echos. So it's been now 3 years that we hear from the military that war has changed and that drones play now a much bigger role than before, of course. So since then, my question is, what measures were taken? Has the Commission sent recommendations to member states on how to protect their critical infrastructures and airports, for instance? And can you name one or several member states that already have developed new capacities against drones, anti-drone drones, for instance?
Let me maybe start from a purely European perspective. I mean, we took very strong measures since the beginning of the mandate. Let's go back to March with the readiness package that we have presented, the Readiness 2030 package, with the white paper that first identifies our critical capability gaps, our investment gaps in the European Union. This was associated with an investment plan. We had the National Escape Clause, that is with Balázs in case he wants to complement. We have SAFE, that is oversubscribed, and we have already tentatively allocated 150 billion to our member states. They are now in the driving seat. They are working now to establish their national plans according to their needs, also potentially when it comes to these drone incursions and drone attacks. So yes, we took already big steps at EU level, and this is only the beginning. In October, we will have a defense roadmap that will be presented, and later this year, we will also have a military mobility package. So we are fully working on that and fully supporting our member states.
Many thanks, Thomas. Colleagues, go ahead.
Zaza Bashidze, Realpolitika from Georgia. So my question is about South Caucasus, and the first question is about Armenia. You, Commissioner Kos, who visited?
We're just going to check if there are other questions
on
the drones, and we come back to you then. Thank you, Antoine.
Thanks.
Thank you, Antoine Muto for Japanese TV and HK. Sorry to insist on this, but isn't it too early to kind of put it in the same package as the other incidents, since this is the investigation is still going on, and besides Mette Frederiksen, the Danish Prime Minister, saying this is it could be, there is no indication that it is Russian at all, and the distance is really kind of far, like Kaliningrad is 500 kilometers away, so this is not the same situation at all like the situation we have witnessed at the borders. Yes.
Thanks. I'll jump in. I mean, compliment as you wish, Anita, but I mean, Antoine, I think Anita has been quite clear. There is an investigation ongoing. We're not prejudging the outcomes of that. There's a wider context, and we feel it's important to explain that wider context from this podium at every opportunity. Therefore, we took the opportunity to do so again. We wait for the outcome of the investigation, and we don't prejudge its outcome. Anita, compliment if you wish.
Precisely. Nothing further to add.
Okay, many thanks. I see that David has his hand raised online. David, is it on this?
Yes, thank you, Olof. David Carretta, Radio Radicale. It's a question, I don't know if technical or not. Basically, you are talking about a wall of drones, but here, in terms of geography, we see that the wall in the eastern flank would be unuseful. Probably the drones were launched by boats in the Baltic Sea. So I'm wondering how can you build a wall against this type of attack which happen in international water and so on? Don't you think the risk to launch an initiative that at the end of the day will not work technically? Thank you.
Before the colleagues jump in, I will give a first attempt at answering your question, David, and that is that the drone wall initiative is one part of the far wider effort that the Member States of the European Union, in coordination with the European Commission, are taking to improve our own security and our capacity to defend ourselves from all kinds of escalating threats. So, and I'm not an expert on defence technologies by any means, but I imagine that there are ways other than drone walls to deal with the type of attack we saw in Norway. But I hand the floor over to the colleagues for the more expert view.
Thank you, Olof. I don't know if more expert, but I can guarantee that Europe has very good experience and should absolutely not be underestimated when it comes to our capacities to invest and produce innovative technologies also in the defense sector. Now, on the upcoming drone wall, of course, David, you're touching upon very important and sensitive points. This is precisely why Commissioner Kubilius will engage with the Member States to discuss what is feasible, what is not feasible, what are the capabilities we already have, what are the needs that we need on top of it, where the Commission can jump in. So this is precisely the objective of the meeting, but I can reassure you, if we present something, if we present such an initiative, if we present a drone wall, it will be an effective one.
Many thanks, Thomas. Other questions on drones here in front? Yeah.
Philippe Edo-Sylvin from Norwegian Energi og Klima. I'm wondering if the events in Norway make it so that you are going to be looking at working with associated partners or EEA members on the drone wall.
Thank you. And I can already reassure you, Norway and Ukraine are both, by default, fully associated to our SAFE instrument. So yes, of course, we take the concerns of Norway extremely seriously. They're fully embedded into our program. There is one difference. They will not be able to take the loans, but they will be fully associated to these projects if the member states, of course, want to associate Norway. So yes, be reassured from the Commission side, we have fully included Norway in our defense programs.
Thank you very much. Here in the front.
Yeah, James Cantor from the media EU Scream. I'm just wondering about the drone wall, just to follow up on the colleagues' questions. In your minds, or in the minds of the policymakers that you're speaking on behalf of, is this wall designed to monitor objects? Is it designed to stop objects? What is it actually designed to do? And second question, do you already have some figures in mind from the EU budget as to how much money would be spent on this initiative? So what is it? Why are we calling it a wall? And how much money from our pockets are going to go toward it? Thanks.
Thanks, James. I'll hand the floor over to the colleagues in a second, but I mean, this isn't a technical briefing on the drone wall, you know, so I mean, there will be a time, hopefully in the near future, where we can give you the type of detailed explanations you're looking for. But if there's anything to add, Thomas, please go ahead.
I mean, precisely also because technical work is ongoing, reflection is also ongoing. We will not take the decision ourselves. I mean, again, member states are in the driving seat. But, I mean, the two main factors that the Commission is asking itself, of course, is one side is indeed the detection of incoming drones. And then the second element, which is fully linked to that, is how to respond then, once we detect one. So, of course, these are definitely questions we're asking ourselves, but let's not prejudge the discussion that will happen on Friday, and let's not prejudge the technical possibilities that are currently being discussed within the Commission.
Many thanks. Jorge, you started, so you can finish on this topic and then move on to other topics.
Yes, also on the drone wall, I know that the meeting hasn't happened yet, but the Commission's idea that you have in mind is that this drone wall could be immediately launched once there's an agreement with the existing capabilities, or that you will need to first put the money, then build the drones, and then at a later stage build the wall? What's the idea of the Commission? How soon could this wall or the first stage of the wall be deployed? Thank you.
Thanks, Jorge. I mean, recent events show that we cannot sit here and wait for things to happen before we need to act. So we will need to act, and we will act fast and quickly. Now, of course, we will need money for that, but we will also need knowledge, capabilities, and here is where the Commission, of course, can play a major role. I mean, money is already on the table. Take SAFE, which can fully contribute to that if member states wanted. Take Poland, 43 billion tentatively allocated. Take Romania, almost 17 billion tentatively allocated. There is funding possibilities are on the table, but let's not forget that member states with these national plans are in the driving seat. We need a collective political will to get there, hence also the discussion that will take place on Friday.
Thank you, colleagues. We'll now conclude on this topic. Tomas, stay on stage because I know there are other questions for you, but we're going to come back to the South Caucasus question now, please.
Thank you once again. So my first question is about Armenia. The EU Commissioner, Marta Kos, who visited Armenia 3 days ago, said that the EU and Armenia have never been as close as now. So, and also we saw the announcement of the second payment from 270 million package. So my question is how far this dialogue and progress could go. For example, can we see the readiness to open the visa liberalization for Armenia in the near future? And my second question will be about Georgia in this context, I mean. So.
Okay, many thanks. Your questions are actually for Guillaume. So your Georgia question is probably for Anita. So please pose that. We'll take foreign affairs questions and then we'll come back to Guillaume when we get a chance.
So, yes, my second question is about Georgia. I mean, while Marta Kos was in Armenia and Azerbaijan, she skipped Georgia, and that has been widely interpreted, especially in Georgia, as a clear message from Brussels to the Georgian government. And if this interpretation is true or can be true, and also in a parallel time, is Georgia risking its position as a key partner in the region? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. For future reference, any such questions are for Guillaume, so we will bring him up on stage to answer your questions in a little bit. Right now we're going to take foreign affairs questions for Anita. Oliver.
Hi, Oliver Kim with the Austrian newspaper Die Presse. It's a foreign affairs sanctions questions. Does the Commission have a reaction, or the High Rep have a reaction to the letter by the Hungarian Foreign Minister Szijjártó from the weekend, where he asks the Commission to designate Antifa as a terrorist organization? It was a letter sent to her. I can imagine the answer, but I'd still like to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. We have seen indeed the media reports, so we'll need to check on the letter, but once we will receive it, we'll answer it in due time. And then when it comes to the procedure to list individuals or entities on the EU terrorist list, there is an entire procedure on this, which is subject to the Council decision.
Thank you, Anita. Other questions for Anita on foreign affairs? Go ahead.
Hello, Luka Hachidze, Formula TV Georgia. So my question is about municipal elections in Georgia, which will take place in 11 days, I guess, yeah. So most of the opposition is not participating, as you know. Many leaders are in jail, in fact, nearly all of them. So neither local NGOs nor OSCE ODIHR will monitor this process, as OSCE ODIHR was deliberately invited at a later stage by the Georgian Dream government, leaving no time for them to prepare that mission. So I would like to ask you for the European Commission's assessment of this process. Thank you.
Thank you. So the municipal elections are still to take place. On the 4th of October, we will, of course, monitor the situation. In this context, we're also taking note of the pardoning of 2 opposition leaders. Then on top, one point to be made is on the OSCE and ODIHR observation mission, which is the usual practice in such contexts. And we have seen that the Georgian authorities failed to send an invitation to this independent observation mission. So our message is clear. They should not be afraid of impartial observing missions. And Georgian people have the right to deserve free and fair elections without any pressure.
Thank you, Anita. Follow up.
On election day, there will be a huge demonstration in Georgia and Tbilisi. The Georgian Dream Party is already threatening participants what they call a proper response, and from our experience, we know that it means violence and in some cases torture. Is there any message to the participants from the EU and to the Georgian Dream government as well? Thank you.
Thank you. 2 messages. Georgian people, like everyone, they have the right to demonstrate peacefully and make their voice being heard. This is the core of any democracy. And our solidarity goes to the Georgian people having the courage to take peacefully the streets and demonstrate for EU values, for the democracy and freedom of speech. The EU stands for democracy and prosperity, and our message is for the Georgian authorities to allow and not be afraid of pluralism of free citizens that make their voice heard.
Thank you for this inspiring message, Anita. Other questions for Anita on foreign affairs? I don't see hands in the room or online. Thank you, Anita. Guillaume, do you want to come up and take the questions already asked? Thank you. Yeah.
So you had a few questions. So your question was why Commissioner Kos didn't go to Georgia, right? And then to explain what we discussed in Armenia, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yes, I mean, if the skipping means something, and also in terms of Armenia, what could be the progress, and I mean, if there will be any tangible things in the near future, like visa liberalization, for example. Thank you.
Good. So on the first question on Commissioner's mission to Armenia and Azerbaijan, I think I answered the question last week, but I am happy to recall what I explained. It is this mission to the South Caucasus region, and more specifically to Armenia and Azerbaijan, was really to be seen in the context of the peace process that started between the 2 countries a couple of months ago. And this opens for new engagement and cooperation between the EU and these 2 countries. Now we can actually step up our cooperation in that context. Also following up to the Black Sea strategy that we presented in May, if I'm not mistaken, when actually one of the key priorities was precisely also to engage with those countries on the connectivity agenda. So it is really in this context, as Commissioner Kos went into to visit Azerbaijan and Armenia. More precisely on your question on Armenia, I mean, yesterday we published a news item in our daily news. I explained a bit the main deliverables and outcomes of the mission, but I can summarize quickly. So the mission was actually quite positive and productive in that context. So the Commissioner Kos really reaffirmed our commitment to the normalization of the relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia. As you said, she announced the second installment of the support that we provide to Armenia in the context of the Resilience and Growth Plan. there are a couple of socio-economic reforms and priorities that we have in the pipeline. So we'll work together on this. We will actually establish a high-level policy dialogue in that context, which has for objective really to look into the different priorities that we have established with Armenia, and we'll monitor the progress in the context of this policy dialogue and also have bilateral cooperation. And then also the Commission announced that the EU will support Armenia's democratic resilience and elections integrity ahead of the 2026 parliamentary elections. To sum up, I mean, obviously it shows the level of cooperation and ambitions that we have with Armenia. This was already started, this process, a couple of months ago when also we announced the Resilience and Growth Plan, and there were also important decisions. You mentioned the visa liberalization. We're still in discussion. I mean, if you need more on this, on the specific of the process, Marcus can give you an update. But this shows the different strengths on which we can work with Armenia. So I would say that it was a positive mission, and we look forward to continuing this discussion in the context also of the connectivity agenda.
Many thanks for this comprehensive answer, Guillaume. Do we have other questions for Guillaume on the files he covers? Christian, I see your hand raised. No, it's gone. Okay. Do we have any questions for Guillaume? No. In that case, we turn to other topics. Razieh.
Thank you. Razieh Akoch, AFP News Agency. I have a question about a story that's just been published on the FT. So it's a question for Thomas. It says that the EU is set to scrutinise if Apple, Google, Microsoft, Booking are failing to adequately police financial fraud online. So my first question would be, can you confirm this information and give me as much detail as you can, because I'm asking this in a midday. So this then leads me to my next question. How comes this was put in the FT? Because a request for information, A, we were told we'd get less of this published. So B, even if you are making it public, as we see that the EU's tech chief has done this, why is there no statement to help others, even if the FT has the story first? That doesn't bother me. I just want the information. Thank you.
Thank you, Raz. You know, I'm always here and happy to reply to your questions. Now, on the first part, I can confirm, of course, that today the Commission has sent a request for information under the Digital Services Act to 4 online platforms, Microsoft, Google, Apple, and Booking, to monitor and request information on how they make sure that their services are not being misused by scammers, indeed. This is an essential step also to protect users across the EU from certain of these practices, and to make sure that platforms in the EU also play their role. So yes, I can confirm. Now, on the second point, you rightly say it. It's just a request for information. We're not at the stage where we open formal investigation, where we usually communicate quite extensively on these topics. Now, of course, it's also the prerogative of Executive Vice President Hanna Virkkunen to feel and to be free to communicate on these topics or not. Here, it was an important step. It's financial scams. It's protecting users. Hence, her decision, of course, to be also visible in the media and to give comments on these.
Thank you, Thomas. Other questions on this topic to Thomas? No other questions on the files Thomas covers? Please go ahead.
Thank you. Maximilian Henning, you're active. EVP Virkkunen said at an event earlier today when asked about a potential delay to parts of the AI Act, quote, I would like to stick to the timeline. I'm not favoring delays. Is that the official Commission position? Thank you.
This is indeed, thank you, Maximilian, this is indeed the official position of the Commission. We have never said publicly that we would favor a delay of the AI Act, quite the opposite. Now, what we always said is that, of course, we take concerns from the industry extremely seriously. We want to, of course, facilitate compliance with the upcoming AI Act. And this is also why we have an upcoming digital omnibus that will come later this year. And we have recently, last week, launched a call of evidence in this sense that also, of course, targets AI. So, yes, this is, of course, the official position of the Commission.
Thank you, Thomas. Do we have other questions for Thomas on the many files he covers? I don't see hands in the room. I don't see hands online. Is it for Thomas or no? Okay. Many thanks, Thomas. Then go ahead.
Hello again, Maria Psara with Euronews and FC newspaper. I want to take you back in Athens because there 3 people are on hunger strike in the center of Athens, in front of the parliament exactly. One of them is the father of 22-year-old Dennis, who died during the terrible train accident in Tempe in February 2023. The father is on hunger strike because the judges are denying the right to exhume the body parts of his dead son. The relatives also complain about attempts to cover up and also complain that the railway in Greece, where so much EU funds have been spent, is still not safe today after this terrible accident 2 years ago. I would like a comment by the Commission both on rule of law situation in Greece, but also in the railway safety, if I may. Thank you.
Okay, many thanks for your questions. I'll start with Marcus on the rule of law aspects, and then if we have something to say on the transport situation, Anna Kaisa will come up afterwards. But we'll split the questions, so I'll take further questions from Marcus. Go ahead, Marcus.
Thank you, Maria. Yes, I can be relatively short on the rule of law situation in Greece. As you know, this is something we cover or have covered, and we do cover every year extensively in our rule of law report. So I would kindly refer you to the report that was issued some months ago. And as to the other parts...
Yeah, no, I'll come back to that. So, thank you, Marcus, for that. Yeah, you have a follow-up for Marcus? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. The follow-up is this. Could you... what would be the message to these relatives that are complaining for the cover-up by the justice in Greece? I mean... Okay, a rule of law report that will be issued next August is too far away, and we have a hunger strike of a relative of a young person that died there. So, a message, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Marcus has explained that the rule of law report is our position, but if you want us to say something before then, we can say that we support the rule of law. We support due process in all EU member states, and that must be respected also in this case. We really can't say any more than that at this point. I'm now going to take other questions for Marcus, as I have him here on the podium. Go ahead.
One more question on this. Maria Aroni from Open TV Greece. My question is, how does the European Commission respond to allegations that the Tempe railway investigation is being obstructed, potentially violating the EU's rule of law principles?
Well, the response is the same. Rule of law must be respected. Due process must be respected. I'm not an expert on the case you're describing, but colleagues will tell me if I say something wrong, but I presume that that this is being investigated in the national context. And Anna Kaisa will comment on this in a second. But that's the transport aspect. Now I'm going to take any other questions for Marcus on the many files he covers. Don't see hands in the room. Christian, I see your hand raised again. Is it for Marcus? No, it's gone. Okay, then I call Anna Kaisa to come up to answer the transport-related questions on Greece. Thanks, Anna Kaisa.
On the Tempe investigation, so there was, to mark the very sad anniversary, there was an investigation report of the accident, which was made in end of February this year. And We have said that we welcome the findings of this report, and it is very, very important, especially now in the context of the questions that you have asked to Markus on the rule of law. It is very, very important to clarify the competencies and the role of the European Commission in this. We do not have had, since the publication of the investigation report, we have not given or made any comments to the various allegations as regards the completion of this report, and this remains our position. The report confirmed existence of systemic problems in the functioning of the railway sector in Greece, and it also highlighted that urgent improvements are necessary. Again, it's important to recall the competence of the European Commission and our role in this investigation. We welcome it. We welcome its findings. It was published and carried out by the Hellenic Air and Rail Safety Investigation Authority with the involvement of our European Railway Safety Agency. But as Olof said as well, this is for national authorities, and we do not have any comment to make on any allegations made to the report since its publication.
Thank you, Anna-Kaisa. If I may add, before you ask your next question, Maria, so we have provided the strict legal and procedural answer to your question. Of course, as the European Commission, we repeat and we restate our sincere sympathies to the family of the young man who lost his life in the horrific accident. That goes without saying, but I'm happy to say it again. And now you have a follow-up question, please.
The victims were 57, most of them young people going to the university. And I understand your sympathies, Olof. I would like to ask Anna-Kaisa, do you have the insurances? You said that it is a national competence, the safety of the train railways in Greece, in every member state. Do you have insurances by the Greek government, by Greece, that the train in Greece is safe after this terrible accident? Thank you.
What I can say is that the report included several recommendations. And of course, we have legislation in place on the safety of railways, European legislation. So in this context and within the competencies of the European Commission in this policy area, of course we are in contact with Greek authorities and stakeholders who are relevant to this. And we stand ready to support, as we do with all our member states, to ensure that, first of all the legislation regarding the safety of railways, etc., that is properly transposed and implemented in national legislation. So in these issues, of course, we remain in contact, as we do obviously with other member states as well, and we do offer any support at technical level that we possibly can to rectify anything that, any of the shortcomings that the report underlined.
Thank you, Anna-Kaisa, for this very clear answer. Okay, one last one. Go ahead.
Thank you. Maria Ron again from Open TV News. So does this mean that the European Commission intends to engage with the European Public Prosecutor's Office to guarantee transparency in the handling of evidence and accountability for any misuse of EU funds related to railway infrastructure?
Now, this question now refers to the workings of EPPO. It's an independent organization. I do not have any comment to make on their work. But I would like to add one more small detail to your question on what is the Commission now doing and what is happening. The Greek government did prepare an action plan, and we and based on the report of this Tempe accident, and together with the European Railway Agency, we are now following up and monitoring its implementation. So this is a bit more concrete to add to what I said.
Thanks, Anna-Kaisa. I think we've covered everything we can on this topic now. We will ask other questions for Anna-Kaisa. Please go ahead.
Hi, Anna-Kaisa. On this question of what was said over the weekend by the Hungarians regarding the their unwillingness to break away from Russian hydrocarbons, their foreign minister said that Brussels were fanatics for trying to cut off Russian oil and gas imports to Slovakia and Hungary. And then The Guardian had a comment from Finnish President Alexander Stubb, who said it's actually now very much up to the Commission to come forward with the tools to do something about the imports of Russian hydrocarbons from by Hungary and Slovakia. What are those tools, and how soon might you present them? Stubb seemed to put this very squarely on the Commission. Thanks.
It is, President Stubb is absolutely right that it is within the competencies of the European Commission to, first of all, to propose the legislation to phase out from Russian fossil fuels, or Russian energy rather. It is also within our competencies and in our political interest as well to make sure that those member states who are most concerned and who still import Russian fossil fuels, including especially Hungary, as you mentioned, that these countries have alternative sources. What we can do as the Commission is to look for alternatives to ensure that they receive all possible support in terms of identifying infrastructure. We can always support financially certain energy infrastructure in the region that might help. This is something that we are doing in any case already. We stand ready. We have been supporting both Slovakia and Hungary especially since the end of the gas transit via Ukraine, which had an immediate impact, especially on Slovakia. But it is very clear, and this is what the Commission has been doing, that we have set a very clear policy of phasing out Russian fossil fuels, and through our legislation, the one that we presented in June, it is done in the way that takes into account and gives a decent time for member states, as well as not just for member states and their governments, but also the companies and market actors who are actually doing this trading, to find alternative supplies. And throughout this, all along this process, we are at the disposal of our member states to ensure that the legislation that we put in place is something that they can fully adopt.
Thank you, Anna-Kaisa. Follow up.
Yes, thanks, Anna-Kaisa. Just to go a little bit deeper into that, though, Stubb does talk about tougher sanctions. He says Brussels doesn't have the capacity to levy tariffs, but then he speaks very specifically about how Brussels has the capacity to impose tougher sanctions, and the implication is that if oil still flows from Juzba into these countries.
One thing is that we might not need to turn this into interpretation session of what President Stubb has said. For sure, I'm a bit reluctant to do that, although I see his thinking here. As regards sanctions and as regards setting sanctions, that is less for me. But our policy all along, because I mean we now have sanctions which are on LNG. I mean we had made proposal for sanctions which is on LNG, but on top of that, we have been saying since 2022, the sooner the better. The sooner the better. And we have already, since 22, since the war started, we have been supporting our member states. We have put in place policies to diversify. And the United States was one of the main partners already in 22 when we were hit by the energy crisis to make up for some of the fossil fuels that were imported from Russia. So it's not something that we woke up now that, oh, we need to do something. This has been a very, very consistent policy since the war started, because it was very clear that we cannot be in this situation anymore. We have been over-dependent for far too long. We have been manipulated, and our markets have been in turmoil because of this. So fully understand comments that are now done in the context of the latest developments, but for us as the Commission, this is not a latest development. This is not something recent that has happened. It is something that we have very, very consistently been working for years already.
Absolutely, Anna-Kaisa. And if I may compliment what Anna-Kaisa has said, James, on sanctions, you know, we've had 18 sanctions packages. Each one tries to put additional pressure on the Russian economy, including, in particular, on aspects of energy. It is correct that the Commission proposes sanctions, but you must always keep in mind that getting a sanctions package over the line requires unanimity from our member states. So, you know, we have to be ambitious, and we are ambitious, but we also have to bring our member states with us. The 19th package was proposed last Friday by the Commission. It's now under discussion by our member states, and we look forward to them agreeing on it as soon as possible, the better to continue our efforts to weaken the Russian war economy. Other questions for Anna-Kaisa? Christian, online.
Thanks, Christian with Ends Europe. It's on the Roosevelt announcement this morning that she's planning to delay the EU deforestation regulation for another year. So I was wondering, she said that there are plans to delay it, but also that it might include simplifications to the regulation. So I was wondering, what exactly are you proposing? A mere delay or a broader revision of the regulation, and when? And then also a second question, if I may, why this chaotic announcement and frankly surreptitious? Because I mean, you just sent out the midday announcement, no mention of this at all. And so I was wondering, is the rest of the college aware of these plans, or is this just ambitions of Commissioner Roosevelt? Thank you.
My dear Christian, it's not my fault if you don't pay attention at the start of middays. At the start of today's midday, I announced that there would be a technical briefing on this precise topic at 2:30 in this press room, to which we invite you to attend and ask all the detailed and legitimate questions you no doubt want to ask. I'm going to say, with Maciej's understanding, given that I announced the technical briefing, I'm going to give one short statement on EUDR, and then everything else will be taken up at the technical briefing. The EU Deforestation Regulation is a key piece of legislation to help combat global deforestation and ensure sustainable value chains. The Commission has worked very hard over the past year with stakeholders in the EU and beyond to make sure that the EUDR can be applied as of next year in a simple and workable way. While our simplification efforts have been substantial, we have concluded that we cannot meet the original deadline without causing disruptions to our businesses and supply chains. In particular, we have serious capacity concerns regarding the IT system, given the projected load. The Commission will therefore seek a postponement of EUDR by 1 year in order to avoid uncertainty for authorities and to avoid operational difficulties for companies. This will allow us to remedy the identified risks, including the design of the IT system in terms of the necessary capacity. And for other questions, as I mentioned, I invite you to attend our technical briefing at 2:30 on this topic. Christian, you have a follow-up?
Thank you, Olaf. I was indeed paying attention. You mentioned the off-record briefing at the start, but you did not mention the reason for it, nor any more details. So, and the second part of it, I think we all deserve an opportunity to ask on-record questions as well. So I would be most grateful if you could clarify why you did this in such a chaotic way. Why did you not include it in the midday announcements? And why did you not give any clarity when you announced it this only a few minutes ago, what exactly the off-record briefing is all about? Thank you.
Christian, thanks for your follow-up, but I think I've been perfectly clear and I've given more than enough information as to why we made this decision, and follow-up questions are appropriate for the technical briefing, and we invite you to ask them there. Thanks very much. David, you have a question on this?
Yes, thank you, Olaf. And it's a political question, so I have to ask it here if you allow me. Otherwise, it will be tomorrow. basically, the message that the Commission sent last year and during the beginning of this year on the deforestation law was that it was a technical problem. Everything will be solved, and the legislation would have started to apply next year. What has changed? I mean, don't you see a problem on your side? You have proposed complex legislation, impact assessment, and so on and so on. Then you have changed the date of implementation of this law, and now you are changing or proposing to change it again. What is wrong with the way you are dealing with such complex legislation? And what about the reassurance of the President of the Commission, for example, to European Parliament members, saying last year everything will be okay in 1 year time? Thank you.
Grazie, David. The core of the answer to your question was contained in your question when you said that this is a complex piece of legislation. Legislation needs to work. Legislation needs to serve its intended purpose. If the technical elements that are required for a piece of legislation to serve its intended purpose are not fully there, then it is logical and appropriate to delay it. That is what has happened. So my answer to your political question is in fact of a technical nature, because the answer is a technical one. So I hope that is clear enough, and I encourage you to ask your other questions on this topic at the technical briefing that will take place at 2:30. Are there other questions on this topic? Oliver.
I hope it's political enough to be answered here. How does the deforestation law link up to the Mercosur agreement and also the Indonesia agreement? I mean, we heard from your technical experts, and I think everyone knows many of the things that are produced there fall under the scope of this law. Does that cause a problem for you? And it's a very political question, because I understand many people in Parliament who are sort of sitting on the fence concerning Mercosur might be appeased by knowing that the deforestation law will make sure that no orangutan will be sort of thrown off the tree under the Indonesia agreement or whatever. If this is now being implemented later, and if it's being dealt with in Parliament, and especially the European People's Party might be interested in weakening it even more, isn't there for you the problem that you might turn a majority in Parliament against these agreements? Thank you. And that's, I think, a political enough question.
Thanks, Oliver. It is a political question. I would nonetheless encourage you to re-ask it at the technical briefing, because there are technical aspects to it. But the political answer is that if you take the Mercosur agreement as the classical example, or indeed the Indonesia agreement that we concluded political negotiations for early this morning, you need to remember that built into those agreements are strong chapters on trade and sustainable development, which include enforceable possibilities if either side, so Mercosur, Indonesia, or indeed the European Union, doesn't live up to its commitments, for example, under the Paris Climate Agreement. If you look at the Paris Climate Agreement, there's all kinds of strong stuff on there in terms of deforestation. So I don't think the political premise of your question is valid, in the sense that we need to look now at how the EUDR issue will be dealt with going forward. As I've said, it will be postponed, or we will propose to postpone it by 1 year. But as regards the trade agreements that we have signed recently, they are the most modern and dynamic quality possible. The trade and sustainable development chapters are strong, and therefore there should be no fear on any side that there will be slippage as regards sustainability, climate and environmental commitments. And on that, I will declare this topic finished and I will take other questions, please.
Hi, Leah Hillebrand from ID. I have two questions, but my first question is, I think, for you. It's about the EU-Indonesia deal. I know there's been a technical briefing today, but just if you could give us some clarity or tell us on camera which agreements are still in the pipeline, other trade deal agreements, and why does everything now suddenly happen so swiftly?
Thank you for your question. The reason everything is happening so swiftly is because we are operating in an extremely challenging and complex geopolitical reality in which old certainties are no longer there. The European Union is taking strong and decisive action to strengthen its competitiveness and the economic prospects for its citizens, workers and companies, both at home and in the work we do globally. At home, as you will have heard from the President Soteu's speech, but also from the event 1 week later to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the Draghi report, the work we are doing to drive competitiveness within the European Union is massive. By breaking down barriers to the good functioning of the single market, we can free up all kinds of economic dynamism and possibility. Now, on the global side, the EU trade agenda has always been ambitious. It has always strived to sign good, strong trade agreements with partners around the world. And I remind you that we have the largest network of free trade agreements of any global region. But the premise of your question is correct, because things have accelerated over the past 12 months, in particular since the start of this European Commission mandate. Why? Because, as I mentioned, we're operating in a new geopolitical reality. There is more uncertainty than there has been for many decades. And in that context, countries and regions around the world want to sign trade agreements, modern, dynamic, comprehensive trade agreements with the European Union. Mercosur, Mexico, UAE, Indonesia, since the start of this year, or December last year. We're working to finish an agreement with India by the end of the year. We're working with Thailand, we're working with Australia, we're working with many other partners to try and strengthen our links. Those countries and regions want to sign trade deals with us because we remain, in this complex and uncertain geopolitical time, a partner that is stable, reliable, follows the rules, do what we say we will do, provide a basis for mutual economic gain and closer economic partnership in general. And so, yes, the EU trade agenda is more ambitious than it has ever been. Yes, it is delivering more results, good results for the citizens and companies of Europe than it ever has, and we look forward to it continuing to do so in the future. That's the end of my beautiful oration. You can applaud now if you like. Any other questions on trade for Olaf? No. Any other questions for us today? Then thank you very... Oh, wait, have. Please go ahead.
Just one question on health. Thanks, Olaf. Gabriele Rosane, El Messaggero. Acting as a perhaps general practitioner in chief, last night the US President advised women not to take paracetamol during pregnancy, citing a link between the drug and autism that has not been supported by medical evidence in the past decades. So since this touch upon disinformation, which I know is something that the Commission holds dear, and also global health in general, I wonder if you have any comment to make. Thanks.
Many thanks for your question. Before I hand the floor over to Eva, I will simply say that the European Union believes in facts. The European Union believes in provable, robust science, and that is a fundamental principle for our health policy and indeed for all our policy making. Over to you, Eva.
Yes, and I can continue, and I can say that in the center of our policy is also the protection of health of our citizens. And Europeans, they can benefit quite high standard health system, which we improve continuously in cooperation with our member states. Regarding the question about paracetamol or Tylenol or whatever you call it, the European Medicines Agency, which is giving authorizations and which is putting very strict control to every product that goes to the European market, has not found any evidence linking the use of paracetamol during the pregnancy and autism. So European Medicines Agency and member states, they monitor the safety of medicines that have been authorized, and this includes also paracetamol. This monitoring is not monitoring in one time. It's an ongoing evaluation of data that we receive, and so it enables us to take action if it's necessary. And as a part of this process, European Medicines Agency has reviewed a large amount of data from pregnant women who used paracetamol during pregnancy and found no indication of risk of malformations on developing fetus or on newborns. So it's important to say that at this stage there is no evidence that would require changes to the current EU recommendations for use. I can refer you also to the European Medicines Agency website. They have published a statement about it, so you can find all the relevant information there. It's maybe good to say that like any other product, any other medicine, it cannot be overused, especially during the pregnancy. So it's a painkiller that can be used as a medication by any patient, but the advice is to use it with the lowest effective dose for the shortest possible time and as infrequently as possible. But this applies to any kind of medicine.
Thank you for this perfect answer, Eva. And on that note, dear colleagues, we will conclude today's midday press briefing. Thank you and have a good afternoon.